Welcome to this Roll Out Your Mat day. As we're recording this, it's a Saturday, and I've got a few of these Roll Out Your Mat practices planned. And in Roll Out Your Mat, we're going to have a mat-based practice, or from wherever you are. You can be in a chair, you can be on the sofa, you can be at your desk, or you can be in bed. We'll always find an option for you. So we'll have a practice. And I've planned far too much, but that's okay. I usually do. We'll cut out bits we don't need. Then a guided meditation. And then for the last half hour, for those that wish to stay, and it won't be on the recording, is the creativity practice. I will share the playlist that we use, but there's no point in me recording you staring at me painting. But for the creativity practice, you do whatever you want. You take that time for you. You might journal, you might write, you might think. You might do knitting, spinning, cooking. For me, it's painting. But it's your time to do what you wish. And I was thinking as I was preparing for this about how we can take things to heart, and then things can land heavily if we are somebody who takes things to heart. It's not a bad attribute to be sensitive, but we have to learn to roll with it a bit and let some things go. And so this is one of the themes that I wanted from this practice. And thinking perhaps about having a shining light here in your heart. And when we come to the meditation, we're going to send that light out. So begin, perhaps soften the gaze, close your eyes, maybe take a hand to heart, one to belly. And tune into yourself. How are you today? How does this body feel today? Notice any areas of tension. Notice if your thoughts are distracted and wandering. Notice if there's an emotional tug somewhere, something that's playing on your mind. Having awareness is a good thing. If we don't have awareness of some of the things, whether it's physical or thoughts, emotions, if we ignore and bury, those things shout louder till we develop awareness. Accept that those things are there, and then we can move on with intention. So notice how you feel in your body, as a body. And then let that go. And an invitation, if you're on a mat, to come to lie down. If you do use a pillow, make sure it's quite thin so your head isn't up too much. If you're in a chair, sit back and be rested comfortably. And let your body sink a little. If you first lie down, and this is the first time since you got out of bed you've lain flat, then you might find quite a bit of discomfort in your lower back. So you may wish to take both feet flat to the mat, lift up the hips, and roll your spine down. And then stretch out one leg and then the other. If it's still uncomfortable, you can keep your feet flat. If you're seated, try and be supported. Let your head rest back. Let your body rest back. Perhaps stretch out your legs out a little. Sink and soften. Notice the areas where your body's connecting with the ground. Notice how gravity is pulling you down and the earth is rising up to meet you. And then take a stretch. So perhaps taking the arms overhead, maybe flexing the feet and coming into a full body stretch. And you can do this to a degree seated as well. You can do this if you're watching the recording, even if you're in an office having a break. Full stretch right the way through and soften. And notice if there's a shift in how your spine feels as you do that. Try it once more. Have a full stretch. Have a wiggle. Move if you need to. And soften. And then, if you're lying down, bring your knees into your chest. If you're seated, bring your feet closer and your hands to your knees and have a little rock side to side. Maybe take some circles at the knees. So you'll probably naturally take a mirror image. You can still take circles if you're seated. They're just probably going to be smaller. And let your awareness be in the hips, because your circles are being drawn with your knees and your hands on your knees, but it's actually in the hip joint that you're taking those circles, warming through. Maybe change direction. Notice if it's twingy or if it feels good. And I know you've heard me say it before, but never go for the end range of movement. You're not looking for the biggest circle possible. And especially if you are very flexible, come back from that end range and explore the sensations. Tiny ones can be explored. We'll take a reclined pigeon here. So take one foot flat. I'm taking my left foot flat. Flex the right foot and take ankle to thigh or knee. If you're sitting down, you can do this exactly the same. Either taking your ankle across the thigh or the knee, or just lower down the leg if that's too uncomfortable. Encourage that right thigh away. And you've opened up at the thigh there. You've got some external rotation. Just exploring the movements. Stay there. Or lift that left foot off the mat, off the ground, and hold behind the leg. If you are seated, you can lean forward instead of lifting your leg. Or rest your foot on a footstool or a block. Maybe have a little rock. Small movements, exploring the sensation. Being gentle. Being kind. And then let that go. Take both feet flat. Have a little windshield wiper side to side. And swap sides. Right foot flat, flex the left. Ankle to thigh or knee. Encourage the thigh away. And find the place that's right for you. Either leaving it there or lifting the foot off the ground or leaning forward if you're seated. Maybe take some movements, a little bit of a rock, and then let that go. Windshield wiper again. We're going to take a twist, so I'll get you into a twist and then I'll show you a seated version. Knees back into the chest, tip the knees right over to the side so you drop onto the one side. And then you're going to unfold only as far as is right for you. Your twist might be tiny. You just unfold a little. Or you might sweep that arm all the way out. Have a little shuffle of your arms and sink into the twist. You can have a bolster or a cushion between your knees if you wish. And I'll just show you, if you're seated, you can have a version. Take your knees over to one side and turn towards the other. So it's just the same, really. Just exploring the movements, the sensations, however feels good to you. There's no right way, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. Come back to center, have a wiggle, knees back into your chest, and take it over to the other side. Slow, gentle, exploring where it's right for you. Sink into it. Always feel free to use bolsters or cushions to support any part of your body. Notice. Notice where your attention's drawn. Is it in the spine, the hips, the shoulders? As you're ready, bring the arm back across or come back to center. Knees back into your chest. I'm going to come up to seated. So, your choice, you might gently push up or you might have a little rock and roll with me and come up. I recommend, if you're sitting on a mat, to sit on a cushion, but have that cushion just at the very edge, so that your sit bones, the bottom of your hips, are just on the edge of the cushion, so that your pelvis is slightly tilted. And you can do the same if you're sitting in a chair, so that you are not rounding. You're slightly tilted. Have your legs where you want. And let your arms be moved by the breath. Inhale and let the arms come up. Exhale and let them come down. And again. Inhale up. Exhale, come down. And each time I direct your attention to the breath, perhaps you can imagine a light shining a little brighter on the inhale. I'll do that once more. Inhale up. Exhale. Down. Pause. Notice. Remember, one of my teachers says, the pause is as important as the pose. We'll have a side bend. So one hand down to the mat. Inhale, take the other arm up. Exhale, take it over. Inhale, back up. And release and swap sides. Inhale up. Over. Up. And back. And then take a few more side to side, just at the speed that's right for you. No right way, no wrong way. One more each side. And if ever you're feeling a bit sluggish in a day, a bit tired, a bit like you don't really want to move, things like this are really good to do just from wherever you are. Pause. We'll take an easy twist. So inhale, take your arms up again. As you exhale, I'll mirror now. Left hand to right knee, right hand behind. Inhale, arms back up. Exhale, opposite side. Right hand to left knee, left hand behind. And then again, flow with your breath. You might be faster, you might be slower. Notice where you feel the twist, and it's probably in your upper spine, because that bit moves better with a twist. One more. I can't actually remember which side I started on. I think it was the other one. And come back to centre. It's not the end of the world, you know, if we have unequal poses on each side. We in yoga get very obsessed by being equal, but in life we're not equal. Who carries a bag on their shoulder and never carries it on the opposite side and only carries it on one side? Yeah, we all do these things. Driving is very asymmetrical. Our bodies are asymmetrical. Okay, we're going to take a seated butterfly here. Again, you can do this from a chair, but take the soles of the feet together. It doesn't matter how far away your feet are. If you're seated and it feels good, you can bring the feet closer in, and this will be sort of a stronger stretch. Let your knees drop out. If they're sticking right up, that's okay. Put cushions, anything underneath them. And wherever they are, lift through the chest and hinge forward next time you breathe out. Your hinge forward might be tiny. That's okay. This is where I have more flexibility. I'm not very flexible at all in some areas, but here I am. So we don't compare to each other. Just notice how it feels in your body. And breathe. Then gently come back up. Bring the knees back in. Take the feet out a bit, whether you're seated or on the mat, and just windshield wiper again. And we're going to come to tabletop. We were talking about cat-cow just before we started recording, because there's always cats in the Zoom room. And so we will be coming to cat-cow first. So, tabletop pose. I know that you in the Zoom room know it. I'll just move my mat. Make sure that your wrists are under your shoulders, your knees are under your hips, and your fingers are spread wide, and you're pushing into the fingertips and under the knuckles of the index finger and the thumb, so that you haven't got all the weight dumped into your wrists. Your back, your spine is long. And first, feel into your tabletop. If you are seated and tabletop is no good for you, sit with your hands on your knees and keep your spine long. Coming into cat-cow in either position, tilt the pelvis, drop the belly or push it forwards, lift through the chest. Then tilt the pelvis round through the spine, chin to chest. Exactly the same if you're in a chair. Tilt the pelvis, push the belly forward, lift through the chest. Don't crank the back of the neck. Tilt the pelvis round through the spine, chin to chest. And do a few of those at your speed. You might even get a bit creative and have a wiggle side to side at the same time. A little bit more intuitive cat-cow. See how that feels in your body. And then we're going to push back to a child's pose. If you're seated, you can roll over a cushion on your knee so that you too are having your chest come towards your thighs. You can use a cushion or a bolster, or you can take your knees wide and sink, however feels good to you. Pause. Notice sensations arising where they are. If anything is uncomfortable, then change, move, shift. And then gently come back to tabletop. And those of us on the mat, we're going down onto our belly. If you're seated, keep your hands on your knees, because we're going to have a cobra, and you can do that seated too. So first, hands are under the shoulders, and take them a little bit wider than normal for a bit of an easy cobra. I'll show you seated in just a second, but some of you know this anyway. You're pushing down through the tops of the feet. Your legs are quite active. Your glutes, these muscles here, you're engaging them, but only slightly. If you over squeeze them, you'll actually cause a bit of discomfort in your spine. And here, think step by step. We're not pushing into the strongest cobra we can find. We're looking at the smallest cobra we can find. So inhale and lift. Peel the chest away just a little, taking the gaze a little bit forward. And as you exhale, take it down. If you are seated, take your hands on your knees. And as you inhale, push the chest forward, lift a little. As you exhale, let it come back. You've got a movement there. It's almost like it's rocking. Do that a few more times, keeping it very small. Inhale and push it through. It's like you're scooping through. Exhale down. And then this time, take it a bit bigger. Only a bit. We're not looking for the end range. Inhale, lift. You don't want straight arms. Exhale down. One more. Inhale, lift, feeling your heart open and perhaps visualizing that light coming from your chest. Exhale down. Then push back to child's pose, or if you're seated, fold over your knees, maybe with a cushion. And breathe. Notice. Notice whatever's arising in your body. Then come back up to tabletop. Oh, I was going to take you through downward dog and come up, and we've got something else here first. That would have been a shame. So, if you are on the mat, we've got a little bit of fun. We're going to come into gate pose. So first of all, stretch out. I'll mirror now. So stretch out that left foot backwards, coming onto the toes. So your leg is long. I'll show you what to do seated in a second. Take the other leg, which is my, if I'm mirroring, it's my right leg, and take it back a bit towards the back of the room so it's a bit like a kickstand. And then as you inhale, lift that left arm to the sky. Oh, lovely. We've already got the seated version going on without any instruction. We must have been here before. Yes. Let that foot that's stretched out be flat. And then when you're ready, be strong through the belly and rise up. And if you are in a chair at this point, you're going to look exactly the same. In your chair, it's like your chair warrior 2. On the mat, it's like a baby warrior 2. We're going to take it over into gate pose. So drop that left arm down to the leg and sweep over the right. You can do this from seated if you wish to, even if you're sitting on the mat. You can do it with your legs crossed if you wish. That's perfect. Brilliant. Notice where you feel it. You might feel it in the inner thigh, through the side of the chest. And then if you're on the mat, windmill your arms back down all the way and push back to child's pose. Pause a moment. Notice. Breathe. Soften. Have a quick run through with awareness of the chest, the belly, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. And then come back up to tabletop. I'm going to swap round to do the other side. Otherwise, I'll be facing the wrong end of the room. So, if you're seated, you know you're going to come into your seated version of Warrior 2. If you're on the mat, stretch out that right leg, if I'm mirroring. Take the other leg, the left leg, back out towards the back of the room, like a kickstand. Drop the foot so it's flat. Sweep up the arm to the sky. And then, when you're ready, be strong through the core, strong through the belly. Rise up. Feeling into a bit of strength. And if you're seated on the mat or in a chair, that's just as good. Take it over. So drop that palm. Sweep the arm over. And notice if it feels different on this side. Pause. With awareness. Notice what your thoughts do. Have they gone running off? And then when you're ready, windmill the arms all the way back down. And if you're on the mat, push back to child's pose. Your version of child's pose, you might be over a cushion or a bolster. Or, like me, you might want to sink into a wide-legged child's pose. Just for a moment. Notice. And we'll meet back in tabletop. We're going to come up to standing. So if those of you in a chair might remain in the chair. You might come up through a downward facing dog, but I'm going to show you a standing version using the chair as well. If you come up through a downward facing dog from tabletop, take the hands forward, tuck the toes, hover the knees, sit bones back and up, coming into your downward dog. If you are standing, you come to the back of the chair, it's all about your body being in an L-shaped position. So a downward dog is just having a 90-degree angle. You can do it seated, really, just sitting in staff pose. But it's exactly the same. So whichever downward dog you're in, have a little pedal, feel into it. And if this is, we do talk in yoga about the first downward dog of the day because you can feel the stiffness in the body. Have your knees bent as much as you need. Then, if you're down on the mat, slowly walk your hands to your feet and your feet to your hands, coming into a forward fold. Now, wherever you are, you can fold. You can fold and hold on to something. You can fold over a kitchen work surface. You can fold over the back of a chair. You can fold onto blocks. And here, whatever's been touching your heart, whatever's been causing any angst or distress, here is where you might even be able to visualize letting it go. Letting it leave your body through your fingertips. The injustice of the person who was very rude to me on Facebook yesterday, I can let that go. Or I can try to. I can have the intention to let it go. Then generously bend the knees, lengthen through the spine, and rise all the way up, reaching for the sky. And come to mountain pose. Whew. Have a shimmy, have a shake. Notice actually even that really small bit of movement, your body temperature might have gone up quite a bit. Pause. Notice how you feel. Notice right through your body. Notice the chest, the belly, the palms of the hands, soles of the feet, and your breath. Okay, take a step out. Doesn't have to be very wide. You can do it from seated as well. Now, I make no apology for us coming back repeatedly to some of the embodiment poses and exploration. And so therefore, some of you know where this is going. And especially if we've taken things to heart. When we take things to heart, things upset us. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but this is about how we move past that. And it can make us contract and be small. It can make us almost hide and shrink. So sometimes we have to remember to take up a little bit of space again. So you only take up as much space as you need. You only have your feet as wide as you want. Soften your knees, take your hands in, and then start to reach them out. You can come all the way out, should you choose, shining from your heart outwards. Or you can stay strong. You can stay in mountain, strong and resolute. Or you can play with it. You can come in and you can reach out. Notice how you feel today. Notice how much you want to be seen today, whatever that means to you. It doesn't matter what other people in the Zoom room are doing. It doesn't matter what people around you are doing. It doesn't matter what people expect you to do. Notice what your body would like today. Explore it. And then step back in. Maybe take hand to heart, or both hands, or even take a hug. Never apologise for taking a hug. Never underestimate the value of some self-care, some self-kindness. And then step the feet out again. We're going to come into warrior 2. So I'll mirror again, turning the right toes out towards the short edge of the mat. You can do this seated and you'll be back in your warrior pose again shortly. Kick out the other heel just a little bit. Hips are forward. And as you know, we always do this before warrior. Take a hug. Take a hug here. Take a squeeze, one hand over to the shoulder, one round to the ribs. Feel into that self-care again. Self-kindness, self-love. And then as you're ready, sweep out the arms, bend in to that right knee, stretch out the arms to shoulder height and feel a long line of energy between your fingertips coming into your warrior 2. Let it go, come back to the hug. Sweep out again. One more hug. And you don't have to go in and out. You do it your speed, your choice. And back into your warrior, feeling into the strength within you. Even if we feel hurt, the strength is still within us. When we feel fragile, the strength is still within us. If your arms don't like that, take them down. Your choice. We're going to reverse our warrior. So shift a little, drop that back arm, turn the palm and sweep it up and over. This is also called a peaceful warrior. And come back to your warrior 2. Shift, drop, turn, reverse. And come back. Finding the strength in warrior 2. If at any point it doesn't feel very good, shift, change, move. Last one. Shift, drop, turn, reverse. Notice where you feel it. And come back. And we're going to have a humble warrior. Some of you have done this with me before. So we turn the body through 45 degrees. Take the hands behind. You can take the hands to the hips or to the heart or behind, but not if it causes discomfort. And we're hinging at the hips in that 45-degree angle. It might be tiny. You might hinge just a little. You might hinge a little bit more. You might hinge further. And then let go of the arms, let the hands come down to the mat and walk them to the center. You can use blocks. You can be seated and using a table in front of you. We're coming into a wide-legged forward fold. Bend and stretch, side to side. And we're going to come up through goddess. So turn the feet out, generously bend the knees, cactus the arms and rise up. Ooh, can you feel it in your thighs? It might take a little bit tomorrow. And let that go. Have a shimmy, have a shake, pause and notice. Notice how your body feels. Notice if one side feels different to the other. Maybe take hand to heart again. And we'll do that on the other side, should you choose. Feet out. Other way. So toes, left toes towards the short edge. Kick out the right heel. Take your hug. Now technically you might want to swap how you hug. I like to stick to the same hug. I just like it. Sweep out, bend this knee. Don't let it drop in or out. It doesn't matter if it doesn't quite come right over the ankle. Find your inner strength. Find your warrior. Come back to the hug. Sweep out. Feeling into that strength. Keeping you standing tall. Back to the hug. And back to your warrior, and stay this time if that's comfortable for you. Feeling the energy from fingertips to fingertips. We're going to reverse, so shift a little, drop, turn, and up. You can take your gaze up. If you're dizzy like me, be careful. Come back. Warrior two. Shift, drop, turn, reverse. And come back. One more. Shift, drop, turn, and reverse. You know, you can always visualize as well. Always. And come back. We're going to humble our warrior. So turn the arms through 45 degrees. Hands where you choose. Maybe to the heart, maybe to the hips, maybe behind. Lift through the chest and fold a little. Or a bit more. And come down to the mat. If you are joining me in a wide-legged forward fold. Bend and stretch. You might notice your thighs are singing a little. And don't worry. And you know what? They might ache a little bit tomorrow. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. You always get a little bit of awareness, extra awareness if you use muscles that you don't use regularly. We'll try our goddess, or I'll meet you standing. So if you want to come to our goddess, turn out the toes, generously bend the knees, cactus the arms, and rise up. Maybe take the hands overhead. And if you want to, you can come onto your toes for a wobbly goddess. And let that go. Whew. Have a shimmy, have a shake. Okay, we're going to have a warrior one and a wobbly warrior. Remember, you can sit, you can hold onto a wall, you can hold onto a chair. So for warrior one, we'll turn towards the short edge of the mat. So I'm turning to the right if I'm mirroring. Step back. I lose my right and left actually when I mirror. Then I can no longer remember which leg is which. Step back one leg. Toes kind of point to about 45 degrees. And you can take your feet wide and bend into that front knee, but your hips are forward. You have an option here to come into a high lunge, which I personally don't like. So some people will have a very long stance and take the foot back. It's not required. You don't need to, and I don't. You can take your hands to your hips or reach them up to the sky. The strength of a different warrior. Then take your hands to your hips and shift the weight into that front leg. Let that back leg point out straight. This is warrior 3. This is your first version. If you want to go a little bit further, take that back foot off the ground. This is where it's very handy to have something to hold on to. But the other thing to do, and I'm turning towards you so you can see, is play here. Have a little bit of fun in your warrior 3, your wobbly warrior, because it's always okay to wobble. And then when you're ready, step back, come out of it and have a little shake. And notice how that feels through the thigh. We'll try it again. So stepping back, finding warrior 1. Lovely. Hands maybe to hips. Shift the weight into that front leg and come onto the toes at the back. That is your first warrior 3. Or you can hinge further. I'm very wobbly today. You can stretch your arms out. You can hold on to something, or you can embrace the wobble, and it's called Joker pose in embodiment. It's like we're flying. Whenever you're ready, come out of it. Pause and notice. Notice how one side of the body feels compared to the other. And tune back into the chest and the belly, palms of the hands, soles of the feet, and the breath. Tune back into that light within the heart space that might be shining brighter and softening. We'll try that on the other side if you wish. So, finding our warrior 1 first. Front leg is bent, back leg is strong, arms up. That looks like this. People also have their feet very close together across the mat, but I don't because I'll fall over if I do that. Hands might come down to hips, shift the weight. You can stay there, or you can tip, hinge. You can embrace the wobble, find your Joker pose, find your version of warrior 3. Step back, have a shimmy, have a shake, have a wiggle, and pause. Try it once more. Warrior 1 first. Remember, everything is optional. Nothing is required. And it doesn't matter what it looks like. Hands to hips. Shift the weight. Hinge. Arms anywhere you choose. I'll turn towards you. Find your wobble, find your Joker. And let it go. Oh, have a wiggle, have a shimmy, have a shake. Pause. And breathe. Then make your way to a seat, whether it's down on the mat or in a seat. If you're coming down to the mat, we're going to lower through boat pose for fun, because I know that you'll like it. So I call this boat ready. I'm sure you already know that. Feet are flat, knees are bent. You can do the same if you're seated. And then lift the feet off the ground. You can keep your hands there, you can lean against something, or you can bring them down by the sides of your legs. And basically you will feel this in your belly, in your core, in your abs. but you can stay in this position. You can do that seated from a chair, or you can stretch out the legs into a full straight leg. And you can also play with low boat and high boat, just for fun. I'm getting some serious looks from the Zoom room. One more, I'll show you once more. Low boat. If I can get back up. High boat. And then whenever you're ready, roll onto the mat if you're coming to lie down, or settle back in your chair. Have a little rock side to side. Notice how you feel. Notice any shifts in your energy, because it's funny when we do some physical work that we're not used to doing, we can get a boost of energy. Now, personally, I barely slept a wink last night. I woke up this morning and thought, how am I going to do it? But the energy comes. Okay, we're going to have cow face legs. This can be really good if you have lower back discomfort, sciatica, or but I always with caution, because some things that help some people make other people worse. So always with caution. Listen to your own body. But particularly people with piriformis syndrome, when the piriformis nips the sciatic nerve, this can help. So, left foot flat, right leg crosses the left. You can do the same seated at this point, so that you're really tightly crossing your knees. So one is over the other, tightly crossed. Then, lift the foot off the ground, so they're still crossed. And stay like that if you're in a chair. You don't have to lift your foot on the ground, but you can put the lower foot on a block or a stool of some kind. And if you're lying down, then send the feet out to the opposite direction from each other. So your right toes are pointing left and your left toes are pointing right. And take hold of the opposite feet, still trying to squeeze the thighs together. And hopefully you can feel a juicy stretch through the glutes. Breathe. And let that go. Feet flat. Let them move side to side. And swap sides. So left leg over right, cross the knees tightly. Lift the feet. Send the feet out to the sides of the room and take hold of the feet. Brilliant. Let me just turn round so that you can see from this direction. One leg crosses over the other, and then the feet go out to the sides, like that. If you're seated in a chair, stay at the point where your legs are crossed over and tightly squeeze the thighs towards each other if you can. And feel where you feel it. I think I swap sides then. And then let that go. Let the feet be flat. Windshield wiper them one side, then the other. We're going to take a different twist. So stretch out the left leg. If you're in a chair, we go back to turning and twisting in the chair as we did at the beginning. If you're lying down, we keep a leg straight to begin with this time. So left leg out straight, right foot to left knee, left hand to right knee. Encourage it across the body. And if you wish, you can bend that lower leg that now you will have no idea if it's right or left, and take hold of it with your right hand. And this is pulling the cat's tail. We're not pulling any cat's tails. Or tangle twist. And you might feel the stretch through one of the thighs, my left thigh. Let that go. Come back to center. Knees back into your chest just for a little rock before we take it to the other side. Stretch out the right leg. Left foot to right knee. Right hand to left knee. Let it drop over across the body. And that lower leg can bend and you can take hold of the right foot with the left hand. Explore. Notice. Gently let it go. Roll back to center. Bring your knees back into your chest. Have a little rock side to side. We're going to take a happy baby. Now, I'll show you something different if you're seated in a chair, but if you're lying down, take feet up to the sky. Take the knees wider. Bend at the knees so the thighs are coming down towards the body, and reach up between the knees and take hold of the outside of the foot or of the big toe. Feet are pointing to the ceiling and you can have a little rock here, just like a happy baby. If you are seated in a chair and would like a version of happy baby, take the feet flat and wide, and you're folding at the hips and holding down towards the feet, or rest on a table, because you've still got that external rotation, that abduction. The legs moved apart, flexed at the hip joint, so you're folding over. But you can fold onto a table as well. It's always good in these practices to have a table in front of you if you're doing this from a chair. So the office workers have no excuse if they're joining in. And then let that go. And if you have a bolster or a cushion, an invitation to take legs in the air. You can't exactly put legs in the air if you are in a chair, but if you can rest your legs out in front of you so that they're lifted off the ground, that would be good. Otherwise, take a cushion or bolster under the sacrum, under the hips, and let your legs come up into the air. And here, you want them to just hang with effortlessness. And some people like to do this against a wall, so their legs are against a wall. I don't even have a wall in here. That might sound ridiculous, but I don't have a wall in here. There's something behind each of the curtains. But some people prefer a wall, but do try and lift the hips a little. Lifting the legs, lifting the feet, lifting the hips. And tapping in just a bit to that parasympathetic nervous system. A little bit of rest and digest. And here, perhaps, you can take awareness back to the heart space. Visualize that light from the chest shining as you breathe. And notice the belly, the chest, palms of the hands, soles of the feet, and the breath. We'll just stay here for a few more breaths. Letting your body rest and restore. And then either stay here or stretch your legs out into Shavasana. You might choose to have a blanket over you. You might put cushions under your knees, anything that brings you any extra comfort. Just have a couple of minutes here before guided meditation. Notice your breath moving through your body. Perhaps you can soften just a little more. And then either stay there or come to seated for a guided meditation, but you can use it as a relaxation. I'm going to come over there, but I want you to be as comfortable as you can be. Pull over an extra layer if you need, an extra blanket, anything that will allow you to soften and relax more. Anything that will allow you to let go of any tension. Settling down. Taking any movements, any stretches, anything that you need, even getting a drink. Let your awareness settle in that heart space. Light shining and softening with the breath. Letting go of anything that you've been holding on to, anything that you wish to let go of. and noticing the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. Taking awareness to the head and the space just above the head, the space around the head. Awareness of the eyes and the muscles around each eye, bringing expression. Noticing the cheeks and the nose, the space within the nose that expands as you breathe, softens. Awareness of the jaw and the lips. Space within the mouth and the tongue. And notice the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. Letting your awareness move from the head to the neck and shoulders, and down into the arms. Sensing, imagining the space around the arms, the space around the hands, between each finger. Perhaps you can sense or imagine the hands from the inside out in the space within. And notice the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. Moving your awareness down through the body to the hips. Each hip, each leg. Sensing or imagining the space around each leg, around each foot, between each toe. Perhaps you can sense or imagine the feet from the inside out. And noticing the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. Letting your awareness move into the belly, awareness of the belly and the pelvis. Sensing, imagining the space around the belly, around the lower back, around the pelvis. Sensing or imagining the belly and the pelvis from the inside out. Noticing the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. Moving your awareness to the chest, sensing, imagining the space around the chest, around the front of the chest, the sides, the back, and sensing within the chest. Noticing the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. And with your awareness settled in the chest, perhaps you can sense or visualize light coming from the heart space, expanding and softening with the breath. Perhaps you can sense that light spreading out through the whole of the body, filling the whole of the body, the whole of the body radiating light, coming from the heart space. And noticing the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. Bringing to mind someone you know well, someone that you have a good relationship with, someone that might need a little bit of extra help right now, a little bit of extra care. And sensing or imagining sending that light out from the heart space, filling the body, sending it out to that person. Sending them love and kindness, compassion, wishing them well. And noticing the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. Then bringing to mind someone or some people that you don't know so well. Someone that might be struggling. Someone that could do with extra support right now. It may be someone you've not even met. And visualizing that light coming out from the chest, filling the body and sending it out to that person or those people, and wishing them well. And notice the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. And perhaps you can bring someone to mind who isn't a good friend, who perhaps it's a difficult relationship with them. Perhaps they've not been so kind. But sensing, imagining that light within the chest, filling the body and sending it out to that person or those people. Sending it out with some kindness and compassion and wishing them well. And noticing the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. Perhaps you can sense or imagine sending that light out to anybody out there in the world, anybody who needs support, kindness, love, compassion, any being. Sending that light out across the world. And noticing the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. Sensing, imagining, visualizing that light filling your own body, shining out from the heart space and bathing, resting, filling the whole body. And let your attention rest here and settle, filling this body with self-kindness, self-compassion, and self-love. Letting your attention rest here for the next couple of minutes. Noticing the belly, the chest, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the breath. As we move towards the end of this practice, perhaps having awareness of the heart space and any light that might rest there. Perhaps taking your hands to heart or taking a hug. Knowing the strength you have within. Knowing that even when you take things to heart, there's strength within and space for self-compassion. Taking any movements you need, any stretches. And slowly, as you are ready, coming back gently to where we began. If you're watching the recording, thank you for joining us. I'm going to stop recording here now. Check in with the people in the Zoom room and move on to our creativity practice with the music playlist. Thank you for joining us.